News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. What a debacle for this one guy with the laid out by the watchdog in the Dallas Morning News. The dude bought a car and it broke down right after he bought it, apparently, and they won't take his money back. I want to know from you what the worst experience you or somebody you know made in buying a used car. We'd love to hear the worst experience. When I say the worst experience, I mean when you bought a car and then immediately knew, or a week or two or three later, immediately knew that you had made a mistake. And what you can share with us as to what you learned from that. Or maybe you have a friend or a family member that bought a car and it was a huge mistake, and if they would have just done this or that, they never would have bought the car. They would have found out. I think there's a lot of people who have gotten a used car and end up saying, how could I have bought this car? This is a disaster. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I'm reminded, well, let me get into this story first. So the watchdog in Dallas Morning News writes, after buying an SUV at a dealership in Dallas, pulled off the lot in reverse. Once on the street, he put it in drive. The car sputtered and coughed. The highest speed of the car was 15 miles an hour. So he gets off the lot, and then it won't go past 15 miles an hour. I mean, yeah. It then broke down a block and a half away. He writes, so close yet so far. There he is, the watchdog. So almost 2 months later, has no car and lost his $2,000 cash down, which he paid. And the owner has not refunded it. Whew. So, anyway, he went shopping on Craigslist. He says that's the first mistake. I don't know. Is it? Because here's what, to me, it doesn't matter where you get it from, as long as the car is a good car. Make sense? If you get the car you want and it's actually a good car and everybody's happy, then it doesn't matter where you bought it from. I'll get into his thing in a second. But to me, what matters is this. You have to take it to your mechanic. And you pay your mechanic whatever his or her fee is for, I mean, mostly his, but take it to whatever his fee is, and you pay it for him to look at it. Your mechanic. For example, when I sold my used car in Atlanta, it was a lady who was going with her parents. It was a kid who was going with his parents to buy the car. And he said, can we take it to my mechanic and have him look at it? So they did. They took it. They put it on the lift. And we bought it in Austin, and then we lived in the Midwest, in upper Midwest for, let me think, man, it's probably been, 5 years, maybe something like that. I can't remember. Anyways, it had some rust on it. We were in Atlanta. So he's like, sorry, I can't buy the car. It was great, but it has rust. So they said I shouldn't buy it. Okay. What was it? I mean, it is what it is. I let the guy take it and check it out, and anybody good would. Of course, dude, there's a lot of stuff you'd have to do to take the car away from me, etc. But, yeah, if they won't let you get it checked out, then don't get the car. A good dealership will let you take the car home for a weekend, or at least a day or two, to get it checked out. So the guy, 2 months later, no car, lost his $2,000, and that's it. So first mistake, buying it on Craigslist, he says. He saw it, no credit, bad credit, no problem. That's a huge red flag. I mean, I don't go to any of those places. No credit, no bad credit, no problem. Stay away from that like the plague, right? Anyway, the salesman said how much you want to spend. He said $2,000. Well, dude, let me tell you something else. That's your first thing. You can't buy a good car for under $6 or $7 grand, maybe $8 or $9 grand. My mechanic literally says it's $10 grand now. I think is a little exaggerating, but he's talking about a car that you can count on and drive for 3-4 years, with other than standard repairs, or maybe this goes out because the car's old, but not because it's a piece of junk, or it's been not well maintained. So tell me examples of when you bought a car and it was a mistake, or when you know somebody that you bought a car that was a mistake as well. There was an EV. Our number, by the way, is 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. What's the worst experience you or somebody you know made in buying a car? Worst mistake? For me, I remember reading, not for me personally, but I remember reading on the show here, we talked about it a year or two ago, a family, father and wife, husband and wife bought their daughter for a college car. They bought her a Nissan Leaf, an EV, and it was like 4 or 5 years old, and it was $11,000. Or no, it was $14,000. It was $14,000, and this was in Florida. And they bought it, and then 6 months later, the battery died, and it needed a brand new battery. A $14,000 car, used Nissan Leaf, about 5 years old, and they went to get the battery replaced, and they said, no problem, $11,000. On a $14,000 car, 6 months into it, you say you got to pay. They tell you got to pay $11,000 to have the car work because the battery is dead on an EV. Don't ever buy an EV is what I'll tell you that. So you bought a college car for your kid at $14,000, and now 6 months later you got to spend $11,000 to keep it on the road because the battery died. So. So he bought this jalopy, drove off, and it didn't work. No refund, no nothing. And he has filed complaints, et cetera, nothing. The watchdog gives you a tip here. Never hand over cash deposit until financial paperwork is complete. Do a web search on a company you may do business with. Never buy a car without a test drive. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, if you buy a car without a test drive, something's wrong with you. I mean, I know I hate to say something negative about somebody that's already kind of foolish, not kind of, very foolish, but dude, your money continues to part with you because you continue to make bad decisions. Find somebody who you admire and you want to be like, and you want to and ask them for advice. Somebody who has what you want as far as a lifestyle or life, and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? That you can trust. Dude. So yeah, dude, that's simple. Get it tested at your mechanic and pay him the fee, $100, $80, whatever. Make sure it's the right car for you. Man, that's pretty foolish. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. That's what you got to do. You got to get tested by your mechanic. Take it around. I want to remind you, too, tomorrow, by the way, at 8:30, I'm going to interview Ted Cruz, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, who's up for re-election against Colin Allred. Colin is a disaster. I did invite him on. Whenever you have somebody on that's running for office in the election cycle, you have to, by law, invite, if you're on broadcast, you have to, by law, invite the opponent. And I did. I invited Colin Allred, to which one of my colleagues, I asked one of my colleagues who is a news person / host on one of our sister stations, I said, do you have the information I'm trying to get to reach out to them? And he gave me the same thing I already had, which is the generic info at colinallred.com or whatever for press inquiries. And he says they've never responded to him. Why wouldn't they want to go on a news show in DFW, the largest metropolitan area in all of Dallas-Fort Worth, when he's even here? He lives here. His district was Pete Sessions' old seat. Isn't that interesting? Huh. Now, for me, I would understand why he might not want to come on my show because I'm biased, but I invited him on. So I need to treat him with respect. I'll grill him, but I treat him with respect. Anyways, my colleague is like really down the middle because he's a news guy, but he also he hosts a show on our sister station. So, if you're afraid to go on with him, that's a problem. That means you're hiding like Kamala in plain sight. All right, did you hear this? Remember when Joe and Kamala decided Brittany Griner, the woke, America-hating WNBA player and star, she goes to Russia in the offseason to make $1 million every offseason while she plays basketball for them. she gets cuffed and stuffed and put in jail and for violating their law with drugs. She had drugs in her possession when she got there. And then, of course, Putin used her as a hostage or a prisoner, whatever you want to say, in exchange for the merchant of death, Victor Bout. Remember that? Remember I played you the 60 Minutes interview from several years ago about how bad this guy is? Joe Biden's like, let me give you the merchant of death in exchange for Brittany Griner so we can get her home. Forget Paul Whelan. Let's get Brittany Griner. Remember that? Well, I got news for you. This is Kamala and Joe's policies. The merchant of death is back in the arms business already. 1 year later, 2 years later, after Joe and Kamala set him free, he's doing the exact same thing that we took him down on and took him into custody on. So there you go. There's good policies. I'll get into that coming up next. Who this guy is, if you don't recall, and how he has gone right back to work after Joe Biden freed him and Kamala. That's next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. The Merchant of Death. Isn't that great? Thank you, Joe. Good job. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Okay, I don't know if you remember me talking about Victor Bout. It looks like the word bout, but it is pronounced boot. And I'll tell you right now, it is very interesting because he is out. He is out. 60 Minutes did a piece on him about why he is so dangerous. Basically, he's besties with Putin, and Putin was allowing him to take all the older Russian military gear and planes and resell them to terrorists, terrorists in Afghanistan to kill us, to Africa, where he literally is responsible for helping slaughter like 20 or 30,000 people. He armed them with tens of thousands of machine guns and rifles to kill each other. And now, if you remember, so his nickname is the Merchant of Death. And now, by the way, he owned like 5 C-130 transport type planes, Russian versions of them. And that's how he would fly in like military vehicles and shoulder to air missiles to take out helicopters. I mean, we're talking the hardcore, real, full on military stuff. So that's what he did. He was an arms dealer to bad people all over the world. And now, 2 years after Joe, remember when Brittany Griner got arrested? And by the way, she was arrested for hashish oil, not for marijuana. It was hashish oil. It's not the same thing. Hashish oil is worse, obviously, as far as the scope of how, the level of drugs. It's a vape. It was a vape, but it's hashish oil. And so she smuggled that in. She brought it into Russia, right when Putin and this whole thing was about to go down. And she's paid to go play basketball in the offseason in Russia. She gets paid $1 million to go play in the offseason. And you could imagine they love her, right? She's a superstar celebrity, an American, massive size, incredible talent coming in and playing for their league, right? So she does that, and she's done that for several years. And I think she thought she could get away with it because if I got caught, no big deal. I'm a celebrity. They love me. Not when they're about to go at war with Ukraine. So they kept her. And then within 4 months, Joe Biden was negotiating her release because she fit the profile. She checked off all the boxes for importance. Paul Whelan, a former Marine, he wasn't important. That would happen later. So he exchanged the Merchant of Death for Brittany Griner 2 years ago. Well, guess what? Since his release, the Wall Street Journal reporting, he joined a pro-Kremlin far-right party, and he won a seat in a local assembly in 2023, so he's a politician now. But when the Houthi emissaries, you know who Houthis are? Those are the terrorists that are in Yemen, and they are armed to the teeth by Joe Biden, not by Joe Biden, technically by Joe Biden, by Iran. Iran buys ballistic missiles and makes them and gives them to the Houthis and Iranian drones, which are very deadly. They're slow, but they're very deadly. And they are attacking our naval ships in the Red Sea. They have shut down and have taken ships hostage and have sunk them, stopping world trade going through the Red Sea, which means an extra 2 weeks or more around the Horn of Africa to avoid the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. And so the admiral that's in charge of that part of the world for our Navy said our Navy is at the highest level of combat since World War II because of the Houthis. So now this arms dealer is a politician. He's elected in the local assembly. But when the Houthi emissaries went to Moscow in August, a couple months ago, to negotiate a purchase of $10 million worth of automatic weapons, they encountered Victor Bout. According to a European security official, this is an exclusive in the Wall Street Journal today, and other people familiar with the matter. So the Biden administration has released the Merchant of Death, who is now selling heavy weapons to a terrorist organization that is currently attacking our Navy at the highest rate it's seen of combat since World War II. Got it? And Iran is funding all this with Joe Biden's $100 billion or $80 billion he's given them in oil revenue. So that's how this all works. Now you can understand the missiles, the attacks are coming from drones and missiles provided from Iran that Joe Biden coddles. And then now the guy he freed in exchange for Brittany Griner, because she checked all the right boxes, is supplying those terrorists with arms to kill our naval officers, our seamen. Make sense? That's Joe and Kamala policies. They work, don't they? Wow, huh? Was it worth it? As you sit here hearing this right now, was it worth doing this deal for Brittany Griner? Was it worth it? 800-288-WBAP. That's my question for you. Was it worth it? Releasing the Merchant of Death for Brittany Griner, and now 2 years later, he's selling arms to terrorists that are attacking us on a daily basis. And Israel. They're shooting ballistic missiles and sending drones to Israel, which they're like, I think they're 2,000 miles away to the south. They go over Yemen. I'm sorry, they go over Saudi Arabia because that's Yemen's below Saudi, and they go straight up to Israel, and they're attacking them from the south way down there as well. So was it worth it? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I don't think so. I think this shows how horrible the policies are from Kamala and Biden. It's amazing, isn't it? 800-288-9227. Also coming up next is Sean Diddy Combs. Another piece another news story comes out. He filmed inappropriate tapes with 3 different A-list celebs. Plus, he is using, here we go, this is from the Daily Mail. Diddy talks going, quote, buck full crazy and getting some girls with a 15-year-old Justin Bieber in a troubling resurfaced clip. I will tell you all about that coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Oh boy, some really nasty stuff surfacing with Puff Daddy and Justin Bieber. I think, Usher was here last week, and he was, right here where we are at our job, the studio, right next door to AAC. I could hit it with a stone from here if I whipped it hard enough. And we fight for parking on the way to get out of the parking lot on some concerts that end at the same time or sporting events that end at the same time we are getting out of here. So I talked about it, and there's nothing funny about raping a boy or anyone. But I said, I wonder if Usher's warning people about Puff Daddy in his concert at some point. Stay away from him, etc. Or, protect your kids. Obviously, he's not mentioning that at his concerts. But he and Justin Bieber and many other kids were apparently recruited by him and groomed by him, it looks like, possibly. And Justin Bieber, I fully believe, was sexually assaulted and abused by Puff Daddy. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. And I hope that he gets the courage to share at the time that's right and helps others. And it's horrible to think about. And I would be shocked if Usher wasn't also groomed and abused. Here's what we got. There's a new video that came out. Well, actually, it's not new. It resurfaced, and Daily Mail Online was reporting about it today. This is the one I've played for you. I'm going to retweet it right now to hear all. There's 4 of them. And I've described these before. I just retweeted another one from somebody else. It's got these 4 different videos. Well, this is an interesting look at other ones here. Boy, there's 4 different ones. There's 2 here I haven't seen yet. But ones with Justin Bieber and Diddy. In fact, this is what's referred to in this, or Puff Daddy, as I like to call him, from when he was in the 90s. Puff Daddy talks about going buck full crazy and getting some girls with a 15-year-old Justin Bieber and traveling surface clip. I'm going to play it for you right now here. This is Bieber and Puff Daddy when he apparently is 15. He looks like he's 13 or 12.
Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
He signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So
Okay. I don't know what this editing or what.
And we gonna go full crazy.
I'm going crazy.
All right, that's it. Buck full crazy. So, in one clip, he stands next to the young pop sensation, now 30. So he's 54 and he's 30. So this time, Bieber was 15 and Diddy was 39. Very interesting. Uploaded on Bieber's official YouTube channel back in November of 2009. Caption read, "I told you guys I produced a song for Diddy. I wanted to show it to him, and you got his attention. Best fans in the world. Well, this past weekend I spent 48 hours with Diddy and have fun. Here's some of the action. Thanks for the car, Puff. Ha ha." He would be seen showing off a luxury vehicle that he said Bieber would be allowed to drive once he got his license at 16. I mean, you want to talk about grooming? Here's a car. I mean, I'm powerful, I'm rich, I'm a celebrity, and I have what you want. Let me take custody of you. Here's a car. What does that tell you? That's outright grooming to me. Unequivocal. There's no question. And it happens in your neighborhood with the person next door, and maybe instead of a new car, it's a credit card with a $2,000 limit on it or something. I mean, whatever. Back in 2004, Usher told Rolling Stone Diddy introduced himself to a totally different set of S-word. Sex specifically, he said. I think it's pretty obvious right there. Okay, now Sean Combs filmed inappropriate tapes. Sean Diddy Combs filmed inappropriate tapes with 3 different A-list celebrity, a lawyer claims. Attorney Ariel Mitchell Kidd claims she was told there were inappropriate videos involving 3 A-list celebrities. The individuals, this was on an interview on Ashley News Nation's Banfield. The individuals who contacted me purported to have 3 different tapes with 3 different celebrities, including Puff Daddy, and then a 4th celebrity without Diddy, but with a compromising position with someone. So the attorney says it's believed the person in the rumored 4th video was recorded at one of Sean Diddy Combs' homes. She pointed out the other 3 individuals were reportedly A-list celebrities. I can't attest to whether or not they exist or not. I was just told initially they own this treasure trove of videos, so I believe that there are a lot of celebrities who know what they did. Her client previously filed lawsuits against Diddy Combs for sex trafficking in July. She claimed the rap mogul forced her to have sexual intercourse with famed jeweler Jacob Arabov. I don't know how to pronounce his name. A famed jeweler. She also claimed in her lawsuit she was expected to be passed off to other people. So, I mean, it involves famed jewelers, A-list celebrities. You got pictures of these freak-offs he called with their white parties, were all dressed in white. You got one with Leonardo DiCaprio. You got one with Ashton Kutcher. Oh, boy. And as I mentioned, you have the Dallas Morning News reported that, not me. What's his name? T.D. Jakes was hired for an image makeover or saving his image, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago or something like that. And somebody alleged in the lawsuit against Puff Daddy that T.D. Jakes was brought up on that. Somebody alleged that they saw him at one of Diddy's sex parties. I don't know if that's true. That was reported in the Dallas Morning News. So, I mean, you're talking some really big deals here that's going to come out. And it's amazing when you think about the bail thing. Remember, he was trying to get bail, and the judge wouldn't let him get out. He's like, I'll give you, what I would say, $100 million or something like that, or whatever. Well, it didn't matter. And the judge is like, no. Because this literally, and they have him on suicide watch because he's going to be Epstein. Possibly, or he's going to Epstein himself. I mean, this guy, this is freaking crazy, isn't it? The scope of this is going to be crazy. It is crazy. And the people in this is crazy. So I do think he's at risk of getting taken out. And I think that it's I don't even know if I can say it. Hard is not the word. It's hard for this guy to even envision himself being in prison for the rest of his life. But I think that's what's going to happen here unequivocally. And this is crazy. I do imagine himself being despondent and taking his life or getting knocked off. Maybe Hillary does it again like she did Epstein. I don't know. That was a joke. Okay, coming up next, I have a whole bunch of different, we got Kamala Harris attacking Governor DeSantis while he still recovers from Hurricane Helene and now braces for a Cat 5 hurricane. The quotation from this meteorologist is amazing. Hurricane Milton is, quote, nearing the mathematical limit of what Earth's atmosphere over this ocean water can produce. That's the Fox television meteorologist in Orlando. Nearing the mathematical limit of what the Earth's atmosphere over this ocean water can produce. In other words, there's no way it can get stronger than what's about to approach, it appears. Ever. On Earth, nothing. You'll never see anything more powerful and dangerous. It has everything to do with that eye in the middle. It's like a pin eye, it's so small, and that means massive power. Very scary, guys. And Kamala's attacking Ron DeSantis at this time, apparently. I'm going to play you her, and I'm going to play Ron DeSantis snapping back at her. That is next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820. Oh, and I'm going to play some of the highlights from her interview tonight with CBS 60 Minutes. Oh, it's great. We haven't been playing them back to back to back. We're going to do that next as well on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. All right, this is really bad with DeSantis. Actually, she's attacking him. NBC News, I think, made up a story to try to give Kamala points because she's doing so horribly in the presidential race. This is going to be a bigger story for us to talk about tomorrow, I guarantee you. But I want to play this for you. But there's supposedly NBC News reports that Ron DeSantis is refusing to take Kamala's calls. But why would the vice president be calling him when President Joe Biden calls him? Right? You think she's calling him undermining Joe Biden? I mean, wouldn't you go to your boss? And we know that Joe Biden was the one that made the call to Governor Brian Kemp in Georgia, for example, and Governor Roy Cooper in North Carolina. She's not. If she's calling him, then I don't know why she's doing that to you. Joe hasn't put her in charge of the hurricane, has he? So this is very odd. Let me play her soundbite. And then I'm going to play you Ron DeSantis' response because it is very good. And she looks very bad here. Here we go. This is on the tarmac today earlier.
President, Governor DeSantis, NBC is reporting Governor DeSantis is ignoring your calls on hurricanes, resources, and help. How does that hurt the situation here?
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games with this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
Madam Vice President.
Okay, so he's really selfish. She's attacking him. He has a Cat 5 hurricane that is nearing the mathematical limit of what Earth's atmosphere over this ocean water can produce, and she's attacking him. Now, he responded tonight on Hannity about this. Listen to this.
And we've been laser focused on leveraging all resources available, including from the federal government. And I've been in touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities. And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish
Has she ever
is her
called
trying
before?
to blunder into this. No. And here's
Has
the
she ever
thing.
called before?
She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this. I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. I've got people whose lives are on the line. I've got people whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. I'm not worried about playing her political games, and so she is being selfish by trying to blunder into this when we're working just fine.
Can you believe this? Why is she doing this? What is wrong with her? She's not the president. What's she doing? All right, here's a little bit more from DeSantis tonight on Hannity's show.
So this has the potential to be one of the most damaging storms in the history of our country. And can we not just focus on the livelihoods and the well-being of the people? Why is she trying to politicize this? Why is she putting her campaign ahead of the well-being of the people of Florida? We're laser focused on their well-being. This is going to be a massive effort. There's going to be things we're going to have to respond to that we've probably never had to respond in this kind in the history of our state. And we're going to do it. And we're going to keep our eye on the ball. And we're not going to let her nonsense distract us from the task at hand.
Yeah. Man, this is bad for her. I don't know what she's doing, man, but dang, you might be desperate in your campaign, but this is not the way to do it. Can you tell a body whether a body is Democrat or Republican? Can you tell when you go up to that body? Oh my gosh. If there's somebody who's lying on death's door and you could pick them up and carry them to safety, you can ask them if they're a Democrat first. Do you want somebody asking what your affiliation is before they decide to give you aid? I mean, my gosh. I don't ever want to live in a time where I won't help a Democrat and hopefully a Democrat won't help me. Here's a little highlight from Kamala earlier. We're going to do some more in the next segment, but here's another highlight from Kamala in 60 Minutes. Looks like a pretty bad interview, to say the least.
Let me tell you what your critics and the columnists say.
Okay.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for, and I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States, and I have been traveling our country, and I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground. I believe in building consensus. We are a diverse people, geographically, regionally, in terms of where we are in our backgrounds. And what the American people do want is that we have leaders who can build consensus, where we can figure out compromise and understand it's not a bad thing, as long as you don't compromise your values, to find common sense solutions. And that has been my approach.
Okay. You've changed your position so much that no one believes anything. Well, I'm the vice president and I travel a lot.